up, everyone? Welcome to the same Philly Sports History for August 22nd, 2024. I'm your host, Jim Montgomery. Welcome to a Thursday edition of the podcast. We are back in the Orleans studio. I'm still not sure if the sound is correct. Every time I travel, the sound always gets screwed up. So if the sound's a little off, I'll get it adjusted in the next couple days as we get situated. But yes, we are back. Quick housekeeping note, please follow me on social media, Jimbo_Mont at Twitter and TikTok, at Philly Jimbo on Instagram. Be sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel, Jimbo_Mont. Spread the word, tell your friends, even if you're listening on Apple or Spotify, be sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel, subscribe there, leave a comment, whatever you got to do to continue growing this thing. And then a quick programming note, I guess you could say. Received word yesterday that the watch party with John Kruk has been postponed due to some family issues that John Kruk had. Won't go into the details. So they're looking to reschedule that for later this season, sometime in September. But no watch party on Sunday. John had to go back to West Virginia to handle some family business. But sending thoughts and prayers to Krucker and his family and everything that's going on there. But doesn't mean you can't go to Philly Goat and get a Kruk shirt and still support the Battle Brothers Foundation. They have a ton of Kruk stuff, so go to the Philly Goat, check it out. Get your kid a Kruk is my spirit animal shirt. Be the coolest kid in third grade. And yes, that's my kid. But go do your back-to-school shopping there. Be sure to use the promo code Jim Montgomery for 10% off your order. They got stickers for water bottles, hoodies, t-shirts, hats, everything you need for back-to-school. So start your back-to-school shopping at Philly Goat and be sure to use that promo code Jim Montgomery for 10% off your order and get the long sleeve and winter stuff now while nobody else is doing it. Yes, they're not going to wear it for a couple days, but get it now. That way or a couple weeks, I should say. That way you have it now. So phillygoat.com, promo code Jim Montgomery for 10% off of your order. And I will keep everyone updated for when the John Kruk watch party gets rescheduled. All right. Gritty win for the Phillies yesterday, 3-2. I like how they kind of battled to score those runs. It didn't come with home runs. They moved runners. They sacrificed flies, things like that. I like it. What I did not like was your 1 through 6 hitters only had one hit. That is an issue, but Weston Wilson and Mundo Sosa and Johan Rojas carried the load. Brandon Marsh off the bench with the sacrifice go-ahead RBI. But to me, and Nola was great too. Estevez gave me a little bit of indigestion there in the ninth, but Nola was good. And it's just those. I don't know what's going on with the top half of the lineup or top 2/3 of the lineup. But goes back to what I was saying about the Sunday game when Topper did not pinch hit. You have guys like Cal Stevenson and Garrett Stubbs on your bench, but then here's Weston Wilson who is trying to do whatever he can. You got the guys mashing it down in AAA or up in AAA, however you want to describe it since they're in Lehigh Valley. And then in Mundo Sosa, the dude was in tears when they were in London because his alarm clock didn't go off and he didn't want to get in trouble. That's what we need. Like, a lot of those guys don't, and I don't want to question somebody's heart or motivation, but a lot of these guys just don't seem like they have the drive that these younger guys who are fighting for spots do. So I'm looking forward to when the rosters expand in September. It's only 3 guys, I think, but they're going to be able to bring a guy or two of these guys up who are hungry, trying to get a spot on this team, especially for the postseason. And that's what I want to see. Like, bring up Rafael Marchand, bring up Cody Clemens, Derek Hall, Scott Kingery, whoever it is. These guys are hungry. They want to be a part of this. And, I mean, Garrett Stubbs, he's a vibes guy. Great. He reminds me of the guy in your fraternity who doesn't live in the house, who comes over on a Tuesday night with a 30-pack of Beast Ice and says, hey, guys, let's party. And you're like, dude, we got midterms tomorrow. And he's like, oh, come on. I don't want the party guy. I don't want the vibes guy. I want the guy that's going to help me study and get a good grade on my midterm. And I feel like right now that's Rafael Marchand. because he's hungry. I need hungry guys. And it goes back, and I know Kelsey with hungry dogs run faster, but it's true. I don't think a lot of these guys in this lineup are hungry. And when you got your 7, 8, 9 hitter, Weston Wilson, Edmundo Sosa, and Johan Rojas, like out there grinding and really carrying your team in a game that you should have lost based on the production of the first 6 hitters, give me that every single time. Don't give me crazy boxhead with the 30-pack of Beast Ice saying, let's party it up. No, this is crunch time. I need guys that are going to work, guys that are serious about it. And again, I'm not questioning anybody's motivation or effort or heart or any of that. But my eyes tell me that the first 6 hitters yesterday were just kind of like, going through the motions. But Weston Wilson and Edmundo Sosa and Johan Rojas, man, they were like, let's go. It's the freaking Braves. Let's win this thing. So I don't know. I'm looking, though, I will say, and I don't care what he says, I'm looking for Bryce to have a good game today. If you missed it, Orlando Arcia hit the 2-run homer off of Nola, which Nola, I mean, it seems like every game Nola gives up at least 1 home run. It reminds me of Cole Hamels back in, like, I think it was 2009 that season. Every game he gave up a homer. But Arcia kind of stared down Bryce Harper like Bryce did during the NLDS last year after he said, "Attaboy, Harper." And Bryce, of course, was asked about it, said, "I don't care. I couldn't care less. I've already done it." And, yeah, that's great. But knowing Bryce is going to come out. Bryce might hit 2 home runs tonight. But good win. Like I said, they got the lead up to 7. They're still currently in the 2nd seed in the NL. 2 games back of the Dodgers. Essentially, they're game up on Milwaukee, but where the season series stands right now, the Phillies have the tiebreakers, so that's kind of like a 2-game lead over them. But you got to get this series win tonight. And I think if they can win 2 out of 3 from the Braves in Atlanta, it'll go a long way to sort of making everybody maybe be more relaxed, whatever it could be. Sanchez is on the mound tonight. Austin Hayes might be back in Kansas City. It looks like Ranger Suarez will be back on Saturday. So we're starting to get some guys. Hopefully this will light a fire under some of these dudes. But shout out to Edmundo Sosa, Weston Wilson, and Johan Rojas for carrying the load. And honestly, I mean, from a team perspective, that's what you need. When the other guys aren't hitting, these guys picked it up. But if you're 1 through 6 in that lineup, Bryce, Trey, Kyle, Alec, Nick, JT, you got to be wondering, okay, these guys are going out there. I need to step my game up. So let's see it tonight. I would love to see like a 10-2 Phillies win where everybody's just mashing. But we'll see. Big game tonight. Got to take that series before heading out to Kansas City. Be sure to check out my boys over at the Clashing Conferences. Gearing up for football season with the OGs next week. Baseball's in full swing. That's available wherever you get your podcasts as well as on YouTube. And be on the lookout because I will be doing some work with them this football season. Speaking of football, Eagles training camp is over, which means we're 1 step closer. You can check that box off, and we're 1 step closer to regular season football. And Saturday's the final preseason game. That's another box to check. Looking forward to taking my son down to that. But we're gearing up. Overall, I would say it's a good camp. Lots of positives. Not as many negatives. I mean, for the most part, they're fairly healthy. There are a couple questions which we'll get into during our questions through the next 10 days. But I like what I'm seeing. More on the Eagles here in a minute. Union lost in the Leagues Cup semifinals to Columbus 3-1. They will play Sunday against Colorado for a berth in next year's CONCACAF Champions Cup and to take 3rd place in the Leagues Cup. And then they will resume the regular season next Wednesday against Columbus again. So a good little tune-up for them. All right, today we are going to go back to 1926. And on this day in 1926, the Philadelphia Athletics beat the White Sox 3-2 in the first Sunday game ever in Philadelphia. It was technically illegal. It was against the law due to Pennsylvania's Quaker blue laws and whatnot that basically said Sundays should be for religion and worship and blah, 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 blah. Well, the A's the A's were selected to host the Sesquicentennial Expo, which was celebrating the 150th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence. The Expo was losing money, so they voted to open up on Sundays, charge people the admission for Sundays, and try to make up some of the money they were losing. Well, Connie Mack, the owner of the A's and manager, saw an opportunity. Always the businessman, always the guy that was going to try to skirt around and make a buck. I mean, he won 3 World Series and then got rid of his entire team. They were terrible. Built another World Series dynasty and then sold them all again. That's just basically the way he was. And he saw an opportunity, though, to get around the blue laws. And his philosophy was the Expo is no different than playing baseball on Sunday. People are going out here having fun, doing something, paying admission, and took it all the way to court. The first judge ruled against him, appealed, and once the appeal judge heard it, he said, well, technically we can't prohibit events from happening until we know if it, quote, encroached on the right to quiet and undisturbed worship. And obviously you wouldn't know that until after the game was played if it bothered people, and that would be on Monday. So Connie Mack's like, we're going to play this game then, and we'll deal with the consequences later. 12,000 people showed up to see the A's beat the White Sox 3-2. The city fought it. It eventually went all the way up through the Pennsylvania courts, which ultimately led to, I don't want to say they were repealed, but a loosening of the blue laws. And honestly, we still do have some of the remnants. They're slowly getting overturned even today. If you remember, if you're around my age, and even when we started being 21 and being able to go buy beer and alcohol, you weren't able to do it in Pennsylvania on Sundays because of these blue laws. We used to have to go over the bridge to Jersey to get beer on a Sunday. Now beer distributors are open. Now the liquor stores are open, but there's still some remnants of the blue laws today in Pennsylvania. But once they loosened up the blue laws and allowed for sporting events to be played on Sundays, it led to the NFL then being able to play in Philadelphia, which led to the formation of the Eagles in 1933. So I guess in a roundabout way, you can thank Connie Mack for allowing the Eagles to become the Philadelphia Eagles. Never really made that connection until I was doing the research for this, but technically, if Connie Mack didn't say, screw these blue laws, I'm playing a game on Sunday, we wouldn't have the Eagles. I'm sure we would have eventually, but Connie Mack leading the charge and playing an illegal baseball game, technically, on a Sunday, led to the state really kind of looking at what they were doing and repealing some of these blue laws, which went well into the 2000s. I mean, like I said, it wasn't until probably within the past 10 years that liquor stores and beer distributors were open. And even then, not all of them were. But I think once they were able to sell beer and wine in grocery stores, that kind of led. So it's just interesting the intersection of, and it is an election year, of politics and sports. But on this day, Connie Mack played a Sunday game against the White Sox as the A's beat the White Sox 3-2, which ultimately led the state to work toward overturning some of the blue laws that prohibited sporting events or really anything that was not religious based from taking place on Sundays. Okay, speaking of those Eagles, our 20 questions in 20 days rolls on. We're into the second half now. And today we're going to look at Jordan Davis. And before we get into Jordan Davis, though, yesterday I asked you who should be the starting linebacker, Zach Bond or Nakobe Dean. 68% of you say to go with Kobe Dean. And I had a few people say we're going to see a lot of both of them, which I totally agree with. Had a couple write-in votes for Trotter. Don't think he's there yet. I think I expect to see a lot of Trotter too, but Nakobe Dean is your vote on who should start at linebacker, 68%. And as always, thank you for answering the question of the day. So back to Jordan Davis. And I think the Eagles pass rush really could use a breakout player this year. I think we're going to see a lot from Jalen Carter, and we'll get more into him tomorrow. But I think we need something big from Jordan Davis. And he's entering his third year and really has the label of a bust based on being a first-round pick. Yes, he was late first round, but, I mean, injuries, being out of shape, conditioning, and things like that have really plagued him during his first 2 years. Well, he came into camp this year very slimmed down, very much in shape. He looks good, looks like he's ready to go, even looks a little bit faster, obviously from the limited time he played in the first preseason game. But all accounts out of camp are that he looks quicker. And I will be willing to say, outside of Jalen Hurts, I think the most pressure of anybody on this Eagles team is on Jordan Davis, because he's trying to shed that bust label, and really because they need him. I mean, truthfully, if you go back to the Super Bowl championship year in 2017 and even in 2022, the keys to those success, and yes, everybody said, the secondary were good, but Ronald Darby and Jalen Mills were okay. They weren't like world beaters. And you saw what happened in the Super Bowl when the defensive line was not getting pressure on Tom Brady. He was picking them apart. Same thing happened with Patrick Mahomes. We look at what happened with James Bradbury. So I think the key to making the secondary better, or not I think, I mean the key to making the secondary better is a good pass rush. So I think talent-wise, the secondary actually has more talent than both of those teams. But guys can only cover guys so long, so they need to get that pressure on the quarterback. And that comes down to a guy like Jordan Davis, because ultimately he's got to be the guy that takes up two blockers to allow either Jalen Carter or Bryce Huff, Brandon Graham, Josh Sweat, one of those guys to get in and get after the quarterback. So I think and nobody's really talking about that aspect of it. Everybody's like, oh, it's boom or bust year this year for Jordan Davis, so he can shed that label. I'm saying they need him to be the key piece to this offense or defense. So to me, nobody has more pressure on them other than maybe Jalen Hurts than Jordan Davis this year. And to his credit, I think he's impressed everybody that's been in camp so far. But he's the key to the success of this defense. I think he has confidence. He's saying the right thing. He's the starter. So, it's on him. It's not like he's battling for a position. So, to me, he really needs to come through. He's had the limited reps in preseason, so we're not really going to know until Brazil. To me, though, he looks good. He's saying the right things. It comes down now, you got to do it on the field. And that leads to today's question. Is Jordan Davis a bust, or do you think he's going to come out and have a good season this year? 267-495-8531 will get you into the Back to the Future voice and text line. But, I think this is the year we're going to tell. I want to believe that he's going to have a good year, but, I think it's really on the table that he could be a bust. And to me, he's the key to this defense. So is Jordan Davis going to be a bust, or is he going to have a good year? Let me know. Get that. Anything else Philly sports related? You want to vent about the 1 through 6 hitters for the Phillies? That's all fair game. 267-495-8531. That's the Back to the Future voice and text line. But Jordan Davis, is he a bust, or is he going to have a good season? Let me know on the Back to the Future voice and text line or any of my social media. On this day in 1926, Connie Mack and the A's played the Chicago White Sox on the first Sunday game in Philadelphia, even though it was illegal, which ultimately, though, led to the loosening, I guess we could say, of the Pennsylvania's blue laws, which are very antiquated and tied to the Quaker values of William Penn. But that all happened on this day in 1926. Phil's looking to take the series tonight against the Braves. They're sending who arguably has been their ace over the past few starts. Christopher Sanchez to the mound. Looking forward to that. I'm telling you, though, I have a feeling Bryce is going to have a game. As much as he says he doesn't care, I don't believe him. I think he 100% saw it. I think he is ready for it, and we're going to see a different Bryce tonight. But hopefully we're celebrating that tomorrow on a Feel Good Friday. This has been This Day in Philly Sports History for August 22nd, 2024. My name is Jim Montgomery. Go have yourselves a Thursday, and until next time, I'll see you when I see you.